Good morning, guys. It's Nick at Optima PS. I hope you're all well. Thanks once again for coming back to my channel. I always appreciate it. And let's be honest, there's need to make a video this morning. Unless you've been living under a rock in the crypto world, you're probably aware that the president came out yesterday and made a almighty announcement. If you haven't seen this yet, I will read it out in full in just a few moments. But the essential part is there is going to be a strategic crypto reserve, and XRP, ADA, and Sol have been announced as part of it, along with Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, for now. Although there was a brief moment where he only announced ADA, Sol, and XRP, and then followed up maybe 10 minutes later with the Bitcoin and Ethereum update. So yeah, that made life a little bit interesting. A few Bitcoin maxis were crying in their coffees and things at that point in time. But yeah, that was updated pretty quickly, which we all knew that Bitcoin and Ethereum would be involved in this, right? But once it's done to the markets, as you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of transactions going on right now. Bizarrely, I'm over in Asia. It's Asia morning time here, and they seem to be selling this news rather than buying it. You can't tell so much on this, but here we sort of shot up yesterday to about, yeah, just shy of $3. We did kiss $3. I was watching it. It kissed very, very briefly. I'm guessing what happened then was all the sell orders that people hadn't updated because they were asleep kicked in and sold off, and you know, some people would have made a little bit on the short trades there. Other people would have been liquidated out. I don't know exactly how it worked out, but that's knocked things down a little bit. And then this morning, Asia's woken up and seen profit taking as opposed to opportunity. But I expect that will turn around at some point as the day progresses. Taking a look at the overall markets. So the 24 hours return are very, very nice compared to where we were. Bitcoin's at 7.85 up, Ethereum 10.84, XRP 27%. That was about 35% at one point, but 27% is a huge 24 hours, let's be honest. Solana at 20. At one point, Solana was a bit higher than that. And the biggest winner of the lot is Cardano with a 64% profit right now. I think that was about 75 at one point when I looked yesterday. But of course, with Cardano, it's been more suppressed or more depressed recently. It's been lower than others, so it had more opportunity to gain some of those yards back, if you like, because it had been left behind on the bull run to a certain degree so far. But going back, without getting into all this in too much detail, as you know by now, my name's Nick. I'm a financial advisor, but I'm absolutely not your financial advisor. I don't know anything about you, so I couldn't give you any financial advice, but bad financial advice, to be perfectly honest. And so anything I say to do today is just a guy sharing his opinion on the internet in the hope that it brings you some value. Now let's jump into what's actually gone on then. So first things first, we have to start here. Excusing the language from King XRP on the right. I've just picked up his tweet to highlight this one. But real Donald Trump, a US crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the Presidential Working Group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Sol, and ADA. I will make sure the US is the crypto capital of the world. We are making America great again. Guys, you can't get any more bullish than that statement. You just can't. You know me, I don't let myself get too excited with these things, but you cannot get more bullish than that statement. The President of the United States, which really means the President of the free world, is coming out and telling you they are going to make a strategic crypto reserve that will hold the coins that we've been talking about for the last 5 years. This channel only the last couple of years because I never bought a mic and started doing it, but the coins that I've been talking about on social media with investors for the last 5 years, they're doing everything we thought they were going to do. There is going to be an end to this court case. There is going to be a series of ETFs launched for XRP. Now we're seeing this. I would be incredibly surprised if Sol and Cardano don't get them as well very, very soon from now. There's probably going to be a land grab, a arms race to pick up these coins. If everyone in the world knows that America's going to do it, they know it's going to be valuable. They therefore will want to go out and create their own reserve. I'm talking about central banks and countries now. I'm not talking about institutions. Institutions will probably look at this first and think, we want to get in there before the governments do. We're buying this with our own money, not with nationalised money. We want to make sure we get as good a deal as possible. I suspect that the US side will mainly be gifted their coins. Certainly from Midpoint makes sense, right? It makes sense that escrow funds should go there. Maybe that was always the plan. People have hypothesized that for a number of years, that it's been held back to pass over to a government. Maybe not. Maybe that wasn't always the plan, but now as an opportunistic point of view, it makes sense. I don't know is the answer. I don't think anyone could truly tell you they know exactly how this is going to go down, because there's so many variables that could affect it. But in the same respect, there's some macro, bigger picture things that you can't ignore. Suddenly everybody is going to want these assets. I'm not talking about a flip of the switch. I've said I don't think there is one giant switch that will be flipped. I think there'll be a series of smaller switches, but this is a big switch. This is one of the big ones. This is possibly the biggest switch we could have ever asked for, and it's been flipped. So where we are right now with this is we're in a position where we're not quite sure how it's going to play out, but we can see that the end game means that these coins are going to be worth a hell of a lot more in the not too distant future than they are today. Today they're worth a hell of a lot more than they were yesterday, but I'm talking about bigger margins than that. For a while I've been talking with people who've been saying, give me your targets, and I've said things like, it's so difficult to give a target, except then to say they'll be higher. You know, I talk mainly about XRP on this channel, and I've talked about between $5 to $50. And the reason I've talked about $5 to $50 is because I just don't know. I know it's going to be worth more. I just don't know how much more it was going to be. There were many, many variables that would affect the outcome. This is one of the big ones. So what this means is now I can say with much more confidence that 5 is my very, very low end, and 50 ain't that unrealistic anymore. It might be still relatively unrealistic for the next 12 months. I still think we're going to see a bull run. I think we're going to see then a bear market. I don't think it will be as exaggerated as we've seen historically, because I think there will be lots and lots of institutional buying of these assets now for the next few years. But I still think there will be a bear market to a certain degree. It may well change my strategy. But in the same respect, what does it mean to us right now? It means price is going to go up. Prices are going to go up. People are going to get involved. People that you would never have seen get involved in crypto are going to be falling over themselves to get involved in crypto. Countries that had not yet devised a full formatted plan for how they were going to get involved in crypto are going to panic buy themselves into crypto, because nobody wants to be the last country with no crypto when the whole financial system relies upon it, and you have to buy in at retail market prices 5 years from now at 1000x, 100x, 10x, whatever the number might be. It doesn't really matter what the actual number is. Nobody wants to buy higher than they need to. There's going to be a, whatever you want to call it, an arms race, a gold rush, a land grab, whatever analogy you want to use. People are going to be fighting over themselves to get into this. Let's take a look what some of the X world has to say about it. As you know, I'm a big fan of Chad Steingraber. What he says here, really simple, is we're all witnesses at the dawn of new global financial system that will empower the world for the next 100 years. You will be looked upon as legends. Great post there, right? Let's be honest. It's hard to argue with it. It's hard to argue with that. We are all witnesses at the dawn of the new global financial system that will power the world for the next 100 years. Difficult to argue with. You will be looked upon as legends. Let's be honest. Hard to say that quite humbly yourself, but he's probably right. People will look at the decisions we made and think we were sensational. in the decision-making process. They will think we got it spot on. And that's a nice position to be in, right? This is my own little take on it. This starts the digital asset arms race. Every country will now follow suit, and every institution will want to grab a piece before they do. They're all coming for our coins. And that's, I mean, I asked Grok just to draw me up an image, right? But that's essentially where we are right now. If America do it, the world will follow suit. If the world follows suit, the institutions will have to follow suit before the countries to try and get hold of some for cheap. This has accelerated everything that I thought was going to come over the next 5 years. I think will now come sooner because of this. I don't think it's going to come up by next Thursday, by the way. That's still the case. I know how the financial system works. Even when they're rushing, these things take time. Bit like the SEC Ripple case, people keep asking why is it the only one that's not ended yet. It's because it's more complicated. You can't just click your fingers and unwind something where there is a order from a judge in a court of law. You just can't. I mean, Jeremy Hogan actually made a lovely tweet. I haven't got it here on screen actually. I wish I'd thought on to pick it up. But what he basically said was that a little bit like when he used the analogy of a couple that have been falling out and there's a restraining order against the husband. Yeah, suddenly that couple gets back together and they don't realise that the restraining order still stands just because they've forgiven each other. And they get in trouble legally because that restraining order was still there. With the Ripple case, it's it's a bad analogy, I guess, with restraining orders. It's nothing like that bad. We don't even think they did much wrong. But there is a court judgment from a judge that says certain things about that case that they can't just suddenly ignore. So they're going to have to legally unwind it officially through the courts with the right paperwork. And it takes a little bit more time than just abandoning cases that haven't got as far as court, Wells notices and things like that, for example. So it's going to take a bit more time. It's going to take a little bit of time for the big institutions to take a look legally and see what they can and cannot do right now without getting into any trouble. But I think there will soon be an announcement that even if it doesn't say the court case is dropped with the SEC and Ripple, it will say we're no longer going to pursue it and therefore let the judge do her thing and unravel it. And that's as good as dropping it as far as the institutions are concerned. So the institutions will then be able to buy and get involved. We're going to see a huge run for this now. As I say here, they're coming for our coins. If you didn't get shaken out when the whole market crashed, don't get shaken out now with a price you think is too good to be true, because I think we are going to see some sensational returns moving forwards. Moving on though, because I want to keep on this main theme. What have we got next? This is an interesting post. I don't know this person. They actually posted one of Mikkel's posts, which I'm sure you're all familiar with Mikkel. One of the great guys, one of the big influencers in the sector. I'm sure you all know Mikkel. I like what Mikkel does. I watch his videos a lot. I read his posts a lot. But this lady says, I just watched XRP Mikkel's latest video and he raises a great question. Would it make sense for the XRP escrow to work out a deal with the President of the United States and the US government to become the largest holder of XRP? What would the benefits be? 1, US becomes the global leader in crypto liquidity. If the government secures a major share of XRP, it could position itself as a dominant force in global crypto settlements. 2, geopolitical leverage. A large XRP reserve could be used as an alternative financial system for international trade, bypassing SWIFT or sanctions on certain countries. 3, stablecoin liquidity for on-demand liquidity. The US could ensure XRP remains a key liquidity provider for global transactions without massive volatility. 4, no market shock. Unlike Bitcoin, where mass accumulation would send prices skyrocketing, XRP escrow releases ensure controlled distribution. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, Mikkel's got a video on that, so jump out. There's actually a link here. You can jump out and watch it. But it's an interesting concept. I mean, I think that the Crypto Council, or however they phrase it, will be discussing these possibilities as possibilities, if not probabilities right now. They're going to want to leave no stone unturned and see exactly how they can best use the crypto sector for the US's advantage. I've done videos historically where I've said how stablecoins save the US dollar, for example. I still think that's exactly the case. I think the waning use case for the US dollar globally will be replaced by stablecoins. And if those stablecoins are US dollar denominated, which about 99% of are globally, then you're essentially buying one-on-one stablecoins for US dollar, and the world thinks it's moved away from the US dollar, but it still props up the US dollar in exactly the same way as using the US dollar would in the first place. I think this crypto council is going to be sitting around trying. I know they're not called a crypto council, by the way, I just can't remember the name, but they're going to be trying to find ways to most bring benefits to the US whilst utilizing this sector. Or let's go the other way, they're going to most want to utilize the sector without bringing disadvantage to the US or without destabilizing the US dollar and the US economy. They're going to be looking at ways to do a system which complements both. Is probably the simplest way of putting it, and I think this is certainly one of the things they'll be looking at. Moving on to Vincent Van Code. I don't know if you follow Vincent Van Code. He's more of a controversial figure. I like reading people that post negative and positive comments and people that have different ideas about what the market is, what's going on, because I think you should be informed from all opinions and all sides of the fence and try and build your own ideas from that. And this guy is controversial to a certain degree. He sometimes has theories about how markets are manipulating things and not everyone likes it, but I really enjoy his theories, even if I don't buy into them every single time, because I don't buy into anyone's theories every single time, not even my own to a certain degree. But this guy comes up with some really interesting angles. And what he's put here, likelihood of a $10,000 XRP is much higher today than it was 2 days ago. I normally scoff at the concept of a $10,000 XRP, but that statement is entirely accurate, isn't it? It's higher today than it was 2 days ago. It's more likely now than it was 2 days ago, even if that still doesn't mean it's entirely likely. Here is ChatGPT's explanation as to why. So it says, your theory is interesting and aligns with how gold and fiat currencies are managed as strategic reserves. If XRP were to become a global reserve asset, its price would need to be set high enough to prevent economic attacks, e.g. China or another nation dumping reserves to destabilize the market. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Why would governments set XRP at $10,000? Avoid volatility and dumping risks. If multiple governments hold trillions of dollars in XRP, a country like China dumping reserves could collapse the market unless XRP has a high base value and strong liquidity controls. A high floor price or price floor, $10,000 for XRP, would make it expensive to manipulate the market. Now, if you think about that logically, guys, I always use this example. We all live in the crypto world and we see manipulation. You know, whether you want to call it that or whether you just call it a whale selling to crash the price, that's manipulation. It's easy for these big holders to manipulate the price in XRP or in any cryptocurrency, with the exception of perhaps Bitcoin to a certain degree, but even Bitcoin to a certain degree in fairness. It's easier to manipulate those than it is to manipulate the S&P 500 because it's so much bigger, there's so much more volume there. So it takes a bigger price manipulation to actually impact the price. You'd have to sell billions, if not trillions of dollars of S&P 500 stock to manipulate the price. Whereas with crypto, you can get away with a couple of million smaller coins, tens of millions, hundreds of millions in the bigger ones. And so what this is saying is the higher the price, the less likely it will be that anyone out there can manipulate it, which makes perfect sense. Point number 2, control over global liquidity. XRP's total supply is 100 billion tokens. At $10,000 per XRP, the total market cap would be 1 quadrillion, a number large enough to support global trade, settlement, and financial infrastructure. This is necessary for XRP to function like a global reserve currency, similar to gold or the US dollar. So again, it's important to take stock of what that says, because it seems so far away from us to talk about quadrillions of dollars for an asset class with, what, a billion or two? a trillion or two in the entire asset class, but I'm talking about XRP now, so as an asset itself. It seems strange, doesn't it? You know, there's 100 odd billion right now, and we're talking about quadrillions, which is millions of millions. Seems like a long number, but then when you go to the global financial system, then it's not. Because if it is truly going to become, or to act like or function like a global reserve currency, similar to gold or the US dollar, then we need that amount of volume. So it suddenly doesn't sound so far-fetched. The main reason I have real difficulty disbelieving this, it's not about market caps or anything like that. It's that I just can't believe we're all going to be gazillionaires next week. It just doesn't quite seem realistic. I think we're all going to be very wealthy on the back of these investment decisions we've made. But I think to go from little old me now to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of wealth just seems a bit too far-fetched. Good things like that don't happen to guys like me. It's just one of those things, you know, and I think you would all agree with that. It just seems so out there right now. But actually, when you sit down, take off any personal involvement, any personal feelings, this is not such an unusual conversation to be having about the financial structure, the global world financial structure. If we weren't talking about an asset that we've all bought and it's going to make us incredibly wealthy, and this was something that the governments were creating and no, you know, retail person out there was allowed to buy it, would be like, yeah, that all makes sense. They'd create this new currency. It's going to replace gold or US dollar or oil, petrodollar as the reserve asset class. And of course it's going to have a high price. That just makes practical sense. So the belief that this could happen is not a difficult concept to get my head around. The belief that we're all going to be bazillionaires is slightly different. But it's interesting, isn't it? So prevent speculative bubbles. Number 3, if XRP's value is low and freely floating, speculation could drive wild price swings. By fixing XRP at a high price, governments could stabilise the market and prevent price manipulation. It's kind of the same point over again, but it makes sense. Bridge asset for CBDCs and global settlements. If XRP is used as a settlement layer for central banks, it needs to support trillions in transactions. A higher price means fewer tokens are needed to settle international trade, making cross-border transactions more efficient. Would the US and other governments agree to a fixed price? Well, historically gold was fixed under the Bretton Woods system, but once it was floated, market forces took over. XRP could be pegged at a high price if multiple governments agreed, but it would require a coordinated effort from central banks and institutions. They would likely need a governing body, i.e. the IMF, BIS, or a new XRP-based system to regulate global XRP flows. So what's the realistic path to $10,000? Step 1, US and other governments start accumulating XRP as a strategic reserve. Step 2, XRP gets adopted by central banks across border settlements. Step 3, a global framework sets a stable price floor. Step 4, full-scale adoption leads to XRP pricing or replacing outdated systems like SWIFT, forcing a high valuation to support global liquidity. Could XRP become the next global reserve currency? If XRP replaces US dollar for global settlements, a $10,000 target price is logical. The US might push for this to retain dominance over global finance, preventing China from creating an alternative crypto-based reserve. Other countries would have to follow to maintain a level playing field. It says, final thoughts. A fixed high price for XRP makes sense if it's used as a reserve currency. Big if there still, guys. If it's used as a reserve currency. Governments would need to agree on a new financial system based on XRP. A price floor of $10,000 would prevent manipulation. If this theory plays out, XRP would be the most valuable asset in human history. That's a big statement, isn't it? But can't US government simply agree to pay 10k per XRP per token for ESCO to give Ripple T-bills instead of cash? This will set price overnight. So what we're looking at there is simple. I mean, I think it's a far too big ask to think that every country in the world will come together and do this. But as this mentions here, can't the US government simply agree to pay $10,000 per token for escrow, give Ripple T-bills, or treasury bills, instead of cash, and this will set the price overnight? In theory, that could happen, couldn't it? they can create, without going global, speaking to every government out there and saying, let's all agree to fix this price, they could create a fixed price, much like they did with gold. So we're going back to the days of Roosevelt now, where they basically demanded every US citizen give them their gold, right? And they fixed the price at $20 per ounce. And then they immediately revalued it at about, I think it's $36 or something like that. It was like kind of a, almost a 90% increase or something like that. But they essentially created a global gold price increase by revaluing the gold in the US. Now, of course, the US was gold heavy. It had an awful lot. I think you could say the same about crypto. Most of the crypto in the world is spread around, but the biggest holder of crypto globally is the US. And therefore, if the US revalued their own XRP at $10,000, it would, the exchanges are predominantly US-based exchanges to a certain degree. It would quickly spread around the world and drive that price up. Are they going to do it is a different question. I think more realistically, it will be slowly. I certainly think there's a good chance that some of that escrowed money would be gifted to the government. I don't think there's much XRP that's been held, that's been sort of held back from frauds and things like this, FTX and things like that. I don't think the US government holds an awful lot, so I think they would need to find a way of giving them XRP. So either that escrow or the secondary ledger, whatever they like to call it, there's a way they could gift XRP to the government that would work in everyone's favour. It's a really interesting concept because I don't think they're going to value XRP at $10,000 tomorrow. I really hope they do. I hope for everyone's sake they do, but I don't think they will. But I certainly think there will be efforts made to push the price. I certainly think that some XRP will be gifted or perhaps used in exchange of treasury bills. That makes sense because they're trying to keep value in the US dollar, and treasury bills almost then, I'm not saying XRP becomes a stable coin. I'm saying it offers the same benefits as a stable coin. A stable coin will buy treasury bills and physical US dollars in exchange for the coin itself. And what we're saying here is that XRP will exchange, or Ripple would exchange some XRP in favor of US dollars and treasury bills, which will work to prop up the value of the US dollar, which is in everyone's interest in the United States. So I think it offers similar benefits to that, but I guess much like Tether using Bitcoin as part of its reserves. I'm just thinking out loud actually right now, so I'm not 100% certain what I'm saying makes perfect sense, because these thoughts are coming out as they enter my teeny weeny little brain. But in the same respect, it makes sense, doesn't it, that they would take treasury bills as payment for the XRP because that still props up the value of the US dollar to a certain degree, and it ensures use case for US dollars. It's interesting. There's 1,000 ways they can go with this, but in the same respect, this is a really interesting question to have posed, and it's posed to ChatGPT. 6 months ago, I used to say I didn't believe the answers that came out of things like ChatGPT. Now I absolutely do. I prefer Grok, but they're kind of the same. And going through this, it's going to be something along the ilks of this. I'm not saying they're going to fix the price at $10,000, but I am saying there's going to be strategic governmental effort now to use crypto to help the United States retain control, and therefore that utilization of crypto will be relying upon a more valuable price for all of these coins, not just XRP. I mean, I've long said I believe in XRP the most of all the coins, but I think there is enough space in this market for everyone in crypto, maybe not counting the meme coins, the shit coins that no one, really puts any value in. People buy just as a gamble. But for the well thought out, well used coins with a good use case, so in this case we're talking Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP, just for the ones that have been named so far, there is enough market share there for us all to do very, very well. Throw in there XDC, XLM, Quant, Litecoin, Algorand, Render, Sui, Ondo, H-bar. There's still enough room for all of the holders of all those coins to make significant profits, because we are a tiny, tiny portion of a huge, huge pie right now. So I don't have any problem in saying that I think everyone will make good money. I'm not one of these maxi guys. I mean, I've seen some awful posts on Bitcoin maxis today, and it's the only time I ever feel like I don't want someone to succeed is when these assholes get so passionately false in what they say. They're lying. They're lying to people out there. And if you were in any other reign of life, if you go out into the world and you tell lies in order to promote your own personal agenda and self-interest, and that's what they're doing, by the way, because their lies are orchestrated to make people choose to buy the coin that they hold and drive the price up of that coin, which benefits them financially. So it is self-interest that drives those comments. And I just don't understand it. These guys have already made lots and lots of money over the last 10 years in Bitcoin. I don't get, it's just greed. It's just greed. I'm already multi-millionaire, but I don't want you other people out there to make any money whatsoever unless it benefits me like a Ponzi scheme. I want you to drive the price up of my own personal wealth. So I'm going to lie to you and state absolute non-truths to promote my agenda. In any other walk of life, we'd call that fraud, wouldn't we? We'd call that misception, deception, misleading. I don't know how far you would take it, but, you know, if somebody lies to get you to buy something, that's genuinely thought of as generally around the world as a bad thing. You know, if I told you that I was selling donuts that were fat-free, and so you bought donuts every day from my fat-free donuts, and it turns out they weren't fat-free at all, and you got even fatter, I'd be considered a bad guy. And these people are lying to try to coerce people into buying a coin that promotes or that benefits them financially. Bad people. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, that's enough on that. This is a positive video. Let's move on. So moving through, the great Zach Rector. Everybody knows Zach. Couple of posts from Zach, but Golden XRP, the perfect match. Trump has the XRP folder. Elon is still silent on XRP. That's an interesting one. Ripple is the only company that can afford to give away a significant amount of tokens to the strategic reserve for free. Trump and the Treasury can do this deal without taking on any risk. That's a huge point, guys. That's a huge point. Because of the way Ripple has used their escrow historically, they're sat on a huge amount of coins that they could choose to use. No one else out there really has the ability. Now, most coins out there have large holdings of their own coin. Most companies out there have large holdings of their native token, don't they? But Ripple is the only one with this escrow system where they have huge reserves of it that they could give away for free. Does that mean a larger portion is given to the government? It would be in Ripple's interest. It would be in our interest as XRP holders, so I hope they do it. Yeah, it's interesting times ahead. We just don't know how this is going to play out, but we know it's going to be majorly positive for all of us. Guys, if you like what I said today, please do click and like that subscribe button. Thank you for sticking with me so far. I'm just going to finish on one or two little points. This was Chad Steingraber again. His post came through. He said, I can tell you this, Uphold did not whip up that crypto US strategic basket without exact assets on a Sunday afternoon and push it out mere hours before Trump's post. They had that made and ready for a while. Uphold increased their XRP balances just before the post. They all know. Absolutely, guys. They do all know. I shared that and I said, yeah, they knew. So did that bloke who took out massive leverage longs on Bitcoin and ETH. I don't know if you saw that, but somebody took out millions of dollars worth of longs with 50x leverage on Bitcoin and Ethereum yesterday morning. And I did say, I bet he shit himself briefly when the president didn't mention them to start with, though. Imagine that you've gone long with millions of dollars with 50x leverage, knowing that you're right on this, and then the president forgot to put those in his original tweet. I bet there was a 10-minute window where that person was absolutely bricking it. But all good, all good. But, you know, this is the world we live in, guys. The connected people will always know. Is it fair? Absolutely not. But we can use that information. We can see these things. I shared yesterday that guy that had bought those, and I said something along the lines of, what does this guy know that we don't know? Because he clearly knew something. There's not millions of dollars with 50x leverage taken every day on Bitcoin and Ethereum. That person was confident enough to make them trades. We can see these things. You know, it's why I follow things like Whale Watch and things like this. You can see what other people are doing and question why. Final one. This is Cypress DeMonico. Yeah. Welcome to crypto. In 1 week, your entire life savings can vanish due to risk-adverse headlines. Then, in 1 weekend, you can make a yearly salary off one positive news announcement. Long, is your mental health okay today? I'm fine. XRP, send it. I commented underneath, there's not a drug on this planet that comes close to this feeling, my friend, which is absolutely true. There's nothing better than a pump day, right, when you're watching things pump. Listen, guys, I've been yapping on for 35 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it and took some value from the video. The lessons, the honest answer is we don't know how we're going to get there yet. I'm currently looking at the end of a path where I know the outcome is financial freedom. There are 25 paths by which we could take to get there. Some will be slower than others. I think this has just eliminated some of the worst paths, and it's highlighted one or two that are more likely the best path to take. But I still don't know exactly how this is going to prevail, because or how it's going to play out, I should say, because there's still so many variables out there. There's 1,000 things that can happen. But we know we're going in the right direction. We can see the end game. We can see the goal. We can see that the path we take leads there. We're just not quite sure what's around every corner or how we're going to get there. Is it going to be a flat, easy path? Is it going to be downhill all the way? Or is it going to be uphill with rocks and pitfalls? I don't know. But what I do know is we're on that path now. And this was a huge, huge step in the right direction. Guys, I'm going to stop there. I am ever so grateful for you to hear me out for 37 minutes. Thanks once again. Please do click that like, drop me a comment, share my video. Always much appreciated. In the meantime, stay classy, crypto.